Hi, my name is Andy Roberts. I'm the creator of LiveParts, and this is a quick overview of how LiveParts works. LiveParts is a two-piece application. The first piece, which is what you see on the screen now, is a plugin that runs inside SOLIDWORKS, and the other portion of LiveParts runs in the cloud as a standalone application. And so I'm going to show you today how you work with an assembly and turn it into something that can be grown inside LiveParts. So here what we've done is brought up an assembly that has a few pieces of geometry that are created as SOLIDWORKS parts. And what we do first in LiveParts is we designate the areas where we want the part to grow, what areas we want to be fixed, and what areas we want to be forced. I'm not going to go through these features in detail, but I just want to point out what the features are so that you have some idea of how to start. The first thing you need to do is define the regions where the geometry is required to fill in. And so I have a couple of these gradients here that are called attractor gradients, and they represent the blue regions that you see highlighted are the regions where I want the live part to fill in. This is typically geometry that is absolutely required. It's for mounting points and other regions where your existing geometry has to tie to the live part. Next, what I'm going to do is create a container of sorts, which is not required, it's optional, but this is like a bounding box. It's a type of gradient that forces the cells in the live part to stay inside the region that has been defined. So the green region is a container. And finally what I've done here is I've defined sort of a motion envelope on the bottom in red, and this is a repeller gradient. And what I'm doing here is I'm saying that the live part can grow anywhere it wants, but it has to stay away from the red region. So you can use combinations of these regions, the red, the green, and the blue, to create a boundary of sorts that defines how the live part grows. The next thing I did here was I defined a set of forces and fixtures. I'll start with the fixture. You can create fixtures which are surfaces that are fixed, and you can define forces which are surfaces that have loads applied to these. So we've set this up to go from this red area here over to the forced regions on the left. And finally what we've done is created a couple of seed cells that define the connections between the fixed and the forced regions. In this case we have two. You can also use the connections feature to do this to make it easier to set up these connections automatically. Finally, you can export this part into LiveParts in the cloud by using the export button. And what happens is you come over to LiveParts and you import this and you get something like this. So if we use the import command, we would basically see the key value that's placed on the clipboard when we exported it from SOLIDWORKS, and this brings it over into LiveParts where we can grow the part. And this will take several minutes to do, so I won't go through the whole process. But at any point during the growth, you can use the save command, which is new in release 1.7, and save the part in a partially grown state if you want. And then you can open this part up later to see it in the grown state that you saved it in. So what I'm going to do now is open this up in a fully grown state so you can see it to save some time. And what we're doing now is we're opening up the part that has already grown and filled out the region to support the loads that were defined over on the SOLIDWORKS side. And so this is going to bring up the part fully grown, and I believe it's already smoothed, so you'll see what it looks like in a smooth state. So here you can see the part has grown to fill in the attractor regions. It has created a structure that holds these loads. It's kind of an interesting shape. It stayed out of the repeller region down at the bottom. And to finish this process now, we would export this using the file export command using the LPE option, which is the LiveParts export format. And then we go back over into SOLIDWORKS where we can use the import command to bring this into SOLIDWORKS as a solid part. And I have that part that I showed before in the assembly already, so I'm just going to turn this on. And what you're going to see in a second when this resumes is the part in the assembly. When the parts come into the assembly, the SOLIDWORKS plugin for LiveParts stitches together the mesh geometry with the boundary rep geometry of your attractor regions to create a fully solid part. So once you have the part back inside SOLIDWORKS, you can add features to it. You can do analysis on the part. You can add detail to it. You can do kinematic analysis, whatever you want. It's a fully solid part. And of course, you can send this out to a 3D printer of your choice. So that's a summary of the basic flow of how to use live parts. In the next video, I'm going to be showing you more of the user interface of both the SOLIDWORKS plugin as well as the Live Parts app.